Dust choked the air. Limon coughed, tasted grit. He pushed himself up, bracing against a chunk of concrete. Around him, his world lay in ruins. Buildings were shattered, reduced to jagged teeth against the twilight sky. Smoke stained the horizon, a grim monument to the battle just fought and lost. He wasn't sure how he was still alive. Maybe it was dumb luck, or maybe fate had a final cruel joke to play on him. He saw them then. Figures emerging from the smoke, their shadows stretching long and hungry. His comrades, his friends. They stopped at the edge of the rubble, faces grim, weapons pointed. Limon felt a chill colder than the settling dust. Limon closed his eyes, shutting out the accusing stares, the smoking ruins, the imminent threat of death. He retreated inward, seeking solace in the whirlwind of his memories. He saw himself as a young man, idealistic and eager, joining the Guard, pledging his life to protect the innocent, to uphold justice. He saw the faces of his comrades, their smiles bright with hope, their laughter echoing through the training grounds. He saw the faces of the people he had sworn to protect, their eyes filled with gratitude, their voices raised in cheers. He remembered the battles fought, the sacrifices made, the long nights spent shivering in trenches, the searing pain of wounds, the gut-wrenching loss of friends and comrades. He had faced down monsters, stared death in the face, walked through fire and come out the other side. All for what? For this, to be hunted by the very people he had sworn to protect, to be betrayed by those he had called brothers. The memories swirled faster, a chaotic montage of triumph and tragedy, of camaraderie and loss, and through it all, one question echoed in the chambers of his heart. Why? But even as the thought flickered through his mind, a new sensation washed over him. A tingling awareness, a feeling of being observed. It wasn't coming from his former comrades. This sensation was different, ancient, powerful. He opened his eyes, the world seeming sharper, more vibrant. The dust motes danced in the fading light, each one a tiny beacon in the gathering gloom. The rubble seemed to pulsate with a life of its own, the broken concrete breathing shallow breaths. Then he heard them, whispers slithering at the edge of his perception. They were faint, like the rustling of dry leaves, but filled with an alien cadence that sent shivers down his spine. He strained to make sense of the whispers, their meaning eluding him like smoke through his fingers. He sensed movement in the air around him, a subtle shifting of shadows, a ripple in the fabric of reality. Something was coming, something old and vast and infinitely powerful. The world shimmered. Then, with a sound like tearing silk, a rift opened in the air above him. It pulsed with an otherworldly light, casting bizarre shadows across the ruined landscape. From this tear in reality stepped three figures. They were humanoid in form, but their features were elongated, their eyes too large and luminous. They wore robes that seemed woven from starlight itself, their movements fluid and graceful. They exuded an aura of power that made Limon's blood run cold.
Limon, one of the figures spoke. Its voice was neither male nor female, but a harmonious blend of both, echoing with ancient wisdom and unfathomable power. We have been watching you.
The figure gestured with a slender hand, and images flickered before Limon's eyes. He saw his entire life unfold, not just the events, but his thoughts, his feelings, his motivations. He saw the good he had done, the lives he had saved, the sacrifices he had made. He also saw his failures, his moments of weakness, the times he had fallen short of his own ideals.
Limon stared at the outstretched hand, his mind reeling. He could feel the power emanating from the figure, vast and ancient, like the heartbeat of a dying star. It was a power that could reshape reality, that could rewrite the very fabric of existence. And it was within his grasp. All he had to do was reach out and take it. He could heal the world, save his people, atone for his perceived failures. He could become a legend, a savior, a god among men. The memory hit him like a physical blow. He staggered back, his hand dropping away from the offered power. He looked at the ethereal figures, their faces now cold and impassive, their eyes like chips of ice. He felt their disappointment, their anger, their utter lack of comprehension. He was just a pawn to them, a tool to be used and discarded, just like everyone else.
No, he whispered. his voice hoarse but firm. "I won't be your puppet."
The figures stiffened, their ethereal forms flickering as if his defiance was a physical assault. The whispers that had been a soft murmur now became a keening wail, echoing across the ruined cityscape. The very air crackled with their disapproval, with the threat of unimaginable retribution. But Limon stood his ground. He was done being a pawn, done being manipulated. He had made his choice. The figures seemed to recoil from his words, as if he had struck them with a weapon forged from pure defiance. The air grew heavy, charged with a palpable sense of menace. The whispers reached a crescendo, a deafening cacophony of rage and frustration. The figures raised their hands, their fingers crackling with energy that could shatter mountains and boil oceans. "Constellation 2, as Constellation 2. So be it," one of the figures intoned, its voice resonating with the power of 1,000 thunderstorms. "You have made your choice. Now face the consequences." Limon braced himself, expecting a blast of energy that would vaporize him where he stood. But instead, something unexpected happened. The energy emanating from the figures, instead of striking him down, began to flow towards him, swirling around him like a vortex of cosmic power. He cried out, trying to shield himself, but it was no use. The energy surged into him, searing through his veins, igniting every cell in his body with a power he could barely comprehend.
Screams. As the power surged through me, I felt a strange sense of detachment. It was as if I was watching myself from a distance, observing my own transformation with a mixture of horror and fascination. I watched as my body began to glow, radiating an intense light that illuminated the ruined cityscape with an eerie, otherworldly radiance. I saw the ground beneath me begin to crack and crumble, unable to withstand the raw power that was coursing through me. I looked up at the sky and my breath caught in my throat. The rift that had opened to reveal the ethereal figures was widening, tearing apart like a tapestry ripped asunder. Beyond the rift, I could glimpse other realities, other dimensions, each more bizarre and terrifying than the last. The initial surge of energy began to subside, leaving me feeling strangely hollow, as if a fire had raged through me, consuming everything in its path. I looked down at my hands, expecting to see them scorched and blackened, but they appeared unchanged. Yet, I could feel the power thrumming beneath my skin, a dormant volcano waiting to erupt. I raised my head, my gaze sweeping over the devastated landscape. The air shimmered with residual energy, and the ground smoked where the ethereal fire had scorched it. I saw my former comrades, still standing at the edge of the rubble, their faces pale with shock and awe. They stared at me with a mixture of fear and reverence, their weapons forgotten in their hands. I was no longer one of them. I was something else entirely, something more. Something other. I took a step forward and the ground groaned beneath my feet. I could feel the weight of their gazes on me, the weight of their expectations, the weight of their fear. I was a weapon now, a force of nature. I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. The air tasted different now, charged with a strange energy that crackled on my tongue. I could feel the power thrumming through my veins, a symphony of chaos and creation. I could choose to fight it, to rail against the destiny that had been thrust upon me. Or I could embrace it. I could become the instrument of change that the world so desperately needed. I could become a force of destruction, tearing down the old and ushering in the new. I opened my eyes, my gaze fixed on the widening rift in the sky. I could feel the pull of the unknown, the allure of the infinite possibilities that lay beyond the veil of reality. I could step through that rift, leave this world behind, and explore the vast, uncharted territories of existence. I could lose myself in the endless expanse of the cosmos, becoming one with the primal forces that govern the universe. I took a step towards the rift, my heart pounding in my chest. I had no idea what lay beyond, what dangers awaited me, what wonders I might encounter. And as I stepped into the rift, the world behind me dissolving into a swirling vortex of light and energy, a single word escaped my lips, a word that echoed across the shattered remnants of my former life, a word that would become my legacy: freedom. The rift sealed behind me, leaving no trace of my passing save for the whispers on the wind, whispers that spoke of a hero who had defied the gods, a mortal who had dared to seize his own destiny, a legend named Limon. And in the annals of history, my name would be forever etched, not as a pawn, not as a victim, but as a beacon of hope, a testament to the indomitable spirit of mankind, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, even when betrayed by those they hold dear, even when staring into the abyss of oblivion, there is always a choice. And sometimes the bravest, most defiant act is to choose oneself.